Ultra Mobile PC. What a crap name, man. Ultra Mobile. Yeah, man, I got this mobile PC here. Just wish it was a bit more ultra. So yeah, in around 2006 or so, Samsung got together with Microsoft and Intel, and someone folded a table napkin and birthed Project Origami, which was just a loose set of specifications and ideals that begat two devices at first, the Amtech T700 and the Samsung Q1. This is a Samsung Q1 Ultra. It's like a Q1, but more ultra. Ultra mobile? Not sure, but more ultra, if nothing else. The original Q1, not Ultra, had a 900 megahertz Celeron, half a gig of RAM, Windows XP tablet edition, an 800 by 480 IPS resistive touch screen display, and a compact flash card slot. This is the Ultra, which means you get a full gigabyte of RAM, SD card instead of compact flash, and a 1024 by 600 display. And you also get this nifty split keyboard here. So this was one of the first in this new whole category that these PC industry heavy hitters were trying to make. It's well, it's something. If you haven't caught on by the fact that there's absolutely nothing like this in stock at your local Best Buy, these things caught on about as well as a humidifier in the Titanic, and the whole category of devices was pretty much extinct by 2010, making this entire class of device here fairly rare. If this whole Intel making their own class of device thing sounds familiar, they gave it another try on their own in 2011 with the Ultrabook standard, which basically amounted to so MacBook Air, what if we did that, but not quite as good? I guess having absolutely no creativity actually worked out for them though, because Ultrabooks are still a thing, while Ultra Mobility is deader than my hopes and dreams. Speaking of my hopes and dreams, let's transport ourselves back to happier times and give this thing a quick power on and see what the hype was all about. And there was hype. The tech rags at the time were absolutely laden with rumors about ultramobile PCs and Project Origami when these things were in development. So while Windows sorts itself out there, let's just have a look around this thing. You've got, of course, the split keyboard, the most obvious thing, and then you've got your row of indicator lights and a couple of context buttons here for volume and a menu. You've got this little mouse thing here. That noise, I know it well. So you've got a little joystick mouse thing here that's fairly whatever to use, and it's got a ring around it that actually is two buttons for a shortcut to a browser and switching between mouse and joystick mode, which you can see the two lights changing there. What a weird combination of things to have shortcuts for. Yeah, you can change the mode of your mouse. Browser, that's it. That'll be the other thing. Other half of the keyboard over here, a little D-pad with an enter button, and then your left and right mouse click for when you're mousing around like an absolute madman. Stereo microphone down here at the bottom, fingerprint reader that I've never used before, really garbage 0.3 megapixel front-facing camera on the bottom, whole lot of nothing. Oh, there is a stylus, look at that. On the right side, we've got some covered up ports, which are full-size VGA, USB, and 10100 Ethernet, a power jack thing. On the top, we've got a shutter release button for the back camera, an SD card slot, another USB port, a headphone jack. On this side, we have the power hold switch, and this button here, which brings up a menu specifically for giving function keys new functions. On the back, we have a battery. We have a button to see the battery's charge. As you can see, this one is full. We have this nifty little stand. I guess that's kind of facing the wrong direction, isn't it? Stand. That's a pretty neat built-in feature there. It's got this little key slot here for like a lanyard, and the rear-facing 640 by 480 VGA camera. Wonderful quality, I'm sure. So yeah, Windows XP. I know this design is nostalgic to a lot of you watching, myself included, but objectively, green and blue? Really? Really? I still can't believe this was Microsoft's response to the super unobtrusive, clean, sterile look of macOS back in the day. If you want to know what using this is like, picture a Nintendo Switch, but twice as thick, with the joystick off of PSP and the keyboard off of like a Samsung SGH i760. Honestly, the ergonomics aren't awful. I can wiggle the mouse around easily enough. It's sort of like a ThinkPad nipple mouse. Just not as good, but not that great. In theory, the keyboard's right under my thumbs here. It's pretty nice and easy to get to, and you know, using the video, you might think this is actually a fairly pleasant device to use. It's not. Everything's just 80% of the way to usable. The mouse is just a little bit too hard to control, as well as being like super slow, because you know, this is Windows XP Tablet PC Edition. Oop. Oh no, I've opened up Windows Movie Maker. This sort of is my point here. This might be Windows XP Tablet PC Edition, but look at how small these little targets are that I have to try and hit with this super imprecise pointing device. It has to be slow for me to do that, so it's really just super clunky. And then the keyboard's just a little bit too small and, well, weird to be something that I'd be okay with using. And this is a whole enchilada x86 computer, right? It runs Windows XP, clearly. So, you know, in a computer, sometimes you're gonna have to type stuff, like, you know, a web URL. So it's like http symbol colon symbol slash. It sucks. Any sort of special characters are just such a hassle, and all the shenanigans I had to do just to get Windows XP on the, spoiler alert, solid state drive that's in this thing were a nightmare, because I refused to give up and plug in an actual usable keyboard. I was determined to use the one on here to enter all the command line shenanigans that were necessary to get Windows to play nice with an SSD. Touchscreen's not bad though. Look at that. It's resistive, but it's sensitive enough that you can use a finger for most stuff, assuming the UI elements are actually, oh no. And if they are too small, you can always just whip out your long and skinny and give it a poke or two. Lovely. This is running Windows XP Tablet PC Edition, so you did get some of the usual gimmicks like handwriting recognition. If this works with my awful handwriting, it should work with anyone's. Yeah. Can you believe I actually took PIM and SIP classes in elementary school? So on top of being Tablet PC Edition, this also got some Samsung specific software to support all the pen tablet stuff. One of them you probably saw earlier when I hit the menu button here. It gives you control over video output, brightness and backlight and all that sort of stuff, rotation if you want, and something called etiquette mode, which I think just mutes all your notifications. Kind of neat. Also gives your battery 94%. This is still a reasonably healthy battery, actually. You also get, if I hit this button here on the left, it's some sort of like media player sort of thing. It's not good. Oh, and then there it is, UDF. Yeah, that's the easy button manager. So that redoes this. This looks like a D-pad, but it's actually contextual shortcuts, like mouse scroll when you're using an internet browser, and then your back and forward buttons, or if you're using Windows Explorer, it's copy, cut, paste, and delete. It's kind of weird because it just looks like it should be a D-pad, but it's not. It's super goofy, and a lot of the sort of layout stuff on it's like that ring. Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that? So really though, this thing runs great. There's not a ton of delay with any of my inputs or anything like that, which is, you know, because of the SSD, which we'll get into later. But despite this running quickly, you still can't really do anything quickly on here. Just the inherent form factor of this keeps throwing a stop sign in your face whenever you try to do something productive, like the slow mouse and the crappy keyboard. So what was the point? Well, let's consider the mid-2000s when Project Origami came to fruition. The iPhone didn't come out until 2007, so if you were a savvy business person rising through the ranks of an increasingly connected business world and you needed something a bit more pocketable than the dictionary-sized laptops like the Dell D series, then the almost pocketable ultra-mobile PCs promised to be the ideal device. Log into your business's intranet, download some files, edit them in Microsoft Office, and then use Outlook to fire off your proposal to invest millions into the surely eternal business of VHS rental stores. It's about as good of an idea as investing in ultra-mobile PCs, really. Of course, what was a good idea in 2005 was quickly eclipsed by the smartphone boom of 2007 and beyond, with Apple, HTC, Samsung, LG, and Nokia quickly producing far more capable and actually pocketable devices to fill this niche that had far fewer drawbacks. I mean, I guess you could maybe fit that in a pocket if you tried hard enough. I lack the motivation. So that all leaves us with an oddity that really could only exist in the space between 2005 and 2007. People's desire for portable computing eclipsed the technology at the time and resulted in these almost concept-like devices that, while technically functional, just didn't quite fulfill the promise that they were supposed to. I sort of perceive this happening now with foldables. The concept is sort of there, but a bit vague, and the devices springing up to fill this new perceived niche just aren't quite mature enough in my mind. This doesn't fold though, but it does come apart, so let's take a quick peek at what's inside here. Okay, let's see if I remember how to take this apart. Obviously, battery's got to come out, and that is a latch underneath the kickstand, weirdly enough. What do we got here? Rechargeable lithium ion battery, 4,000 milliamp hours. Not bad. And then there is a SIM card slot in there as well, pretty neat. I think this did have HSPDA, which is cool for the time, I suppose. Where's my fancy screwdriver at? It's all made up of a whole bunch of different layers. There we go, got it unhooked. Not a whole lot going on there. And then the rest of the device. So we've got our stick of 1 GB of Samsung DDR RAM. We've got the slot for where the WAN card would go. There's the rear camera, this adorable little cooling fan, and we've got our wireless Bluetooth and Wi-Fi chipset there. The LAN controller itself is actually a daughter board. There's a row of ribbon cables here that go around to the LCD and all of that sort of thing. SIM card slot is still over here, along with another daughter board, and there you can see the LCD panel. Then here is the SSD that I've talked about. Surprise! It's a Toshiba 32 GB compact flash card, and this kit, I believe, is actually for putting these into iPod Classics. They have this same sort of connector here, what's called a ZIF socket, and that just turns that into a compact flash card slot. It actually works really well. I had to use a different driver, I believe, in order to convince Windows that this was actually internal storage and not removable. Switching out the driver and forcing it to use a different one, it would not boot with the stock driver. It would just freeze at the logging in screen. Some people have reported success not having to do that, but for Windows XP at least, that was really my only solution here. And eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that there was actually a Windows Vista product key on here. Steal that if you want, I honestly couldn't care less. These did have Vista on them as an option, or Windows XP Tablet Edition, which I prefer because Vista ran like absolute garbage on here, and I'm sure that comes as a shock to absolutely nobody, but this did technically meet Microsoft's ridiculously low system requirements for Windows Vista, so it was offered as an option. So there you all have it. That is the inside, outside, and the GUI bits of the Samsung Q1 Ultra, a product of a completely forgotten time and class of computing device that we don't really see anymore. I mean, in these days of cell phones that do absolutely everything you could ever want, and then really portable laptops and ultrabooks that do everything you want but with a full-size keyboard, there really doesn't exist a huge market for an in-betweener device like this, or even tablets, which are kind of dying off now as well, other than the iPad. So there you have it. That is the Samsung Q1 Ultra. See you next time, and thanks for watching.